Welcome to our sacred centering time. Allow the bell to allow you to come to a place of stillness and quiet in this present moment. Maybe closing your outer eyes or stopping still wherever you are. Noticing your breath and breathing here. Just for a few cycles of breath. Noticing where the inhale begins and where the exhale begins. The breath is always our bridge that brings us back to the present moment. Our breath is also the breath of God that breathes us. The energy at the back of the breath is the life force that moves throughout this whole universe. Matters not what we call this. God, Goddess, life force, love. So can you just feel the energy of who you are beyond this body? And in our sacred centering space today, I'd like to share the sacred words from Thich Nhat Hanh on peace. Let us be at peace with our bodies and our minds. Let us return to ourselves and become wholly ourselves. Let us be aware of the source of being common to us all and to all living things, evoking the presence of the great compassion. Let us fill our hearts now with our own compassion. So I invite you to take your hand and place it over your heart. Feel your compassion for yourself, towards others, and towards all living beings. Notice your heart and your breath here, expanding and contracting. And so now let us pray that we ourselves cease to be the cause of suffering to each other. With humility and with awareness of the existence of life and of the sufferings that are going on around us, we now in this moment practice the establishment of peace in our hearts and on earth. So let's spend about a minute here in this sacred centering time, extending our compassion from our hearts out into the world. Beginning to lengthen the inhale breath, the exhale breath. Slowly now bringing awareness back to the body, wherever you are. Maybe keeping your eyes closed for just a few moments. Just feeling that peace, that serenity. Thank you all for joining me today. And until we meet each other again, may the God of your understanding hold you safely in the palm of his and her hand. Namaste.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to our Sunday morning time of connection. I want to say thank you for being here and thank you for being a part of my life. This last week has been a little tough, but I am grateful for each one of you. Thank you, all of you who have sent such loving energy and care to myself and Carrie and to our family. We laid to rest a gentleman who had been really my best friend for most of my life, and in fact, as far back as I can recall. And he departed and moved to the other side. Yesterday would be a week ago, and we laid his remains to rest on Thursday. Spent quite a bit of time with my family this last week, and that actually was very good. We had a really good time together, in spite of the fact that it was around the passing of my uncle and my friend. But you know, the thing is when you live in expanded consciousness, you really do, I believe, get to the place where you're able to see death and dying and living just a little differently. And I've been able to do that. And it's been a blessing to have that sweet assurance that life doesn't begin with a birth certificate in the United States or in anywhere else in the world. It does not end with a death certificate. Life begins and continues on throughout eternity in God and in consciousness. And just because the skin suit fails to carry this message and messenger, it doesn't mean that you cease to exist. And so I'm grateful for that blessed hope. Now, there are others who place their hope in religious beliefs and ideas, and that's fine too. Just not where I'm at. Where I'm at, I believe that we are irrevocably and eternally connected to the divine presence, and we always will be. That's who we are. And this continues to be our emerging story. I want to say thank you to Douglas Bonar, who shared last week, and he and I are very much on the same page with seeing a shift in the consciousness of the planet. And I've been saying this for quite some time. It's been a continuous refrain. For everyone who knows me knows that I have been saying and continue to say that there is a shift that is happening. People are waking up. We are becoming more aware of the truth of who we are. And so I want to piggyback on that today and circle back around. As we are going into Gratitude Month, we're going to get into more about the frequency and the vibrational frequency of gratitude and how to have an attitude of gratitude. But today I wanted to share with you something that, if I was going to title it, and I have today, the emerging story. We are waking up to oneness, wholeness, and interbeing. Now, I put a post up about this a few days ago, and this is going to piggyback on some of those ideals. But if you'll remember, we started this year talking about radical oneness, and some people left as a result of it. And that's fine. Everybody has to be in their own place and at their own pace and in their own space, growing and extending themselves out. But anyone who practices or believes in exclusion of any group is probably going to be uncomfortable with us, because we actually believe that we're all connected, that there's nothing separate. But I want to go even a step further and say that when we start to recognize that there is a battle for our consciousness, and we start to see fifth generation warfare that's taking place, and it's the warfare on information, on data, it's the warfare around economy or the use of economy. It is psychological warfare, ultimately leading to the other types of warfare that we have seen proliferate and be threatened in our society. There's a different kind of war that's occurring right now, and it's a war to take away our consciousness and keep us from living our full divine self. Religion helps with that process by making you believe you're separate, that you're born separate. I heard lyric around that, messaging around that this last week, as if any of us could be born separate from God. You are not separate from God. And the only salvation you need is to remember how connected to the divine you are. And that connection is so deep that it's closer than your heartbeat. It's closer than the next breath you take. And it doesn't require you joining a religion, not Christianity, not Islam, not Judaism, not any other religion. You're irrevocably and eternally connected to God, to the source. You are forever in that oneness. So I wanted to talk about a new story that's emerging in the midst of all of the division. And I've been one who's been a victim and allowed myself to be manipulated by the information that is coming through right now. I don't know if you know this, but in 1983, I believe it was 83, 84, it's one of those 2 years, they did a study to find out how many corporations were engaged directly with the media outlets in this country. And in this country, the United States, I can only speak to this one. In this country, in the United States, there were 50 corporations who owned together all of the media outlets. By 2011, there were 6. That means there are 6 companies who are with 6 CEOs who are directly connected to government, to religion, you name it, to their own ideas, who are controlling the information that you're getting. And the truth is that all of us have been manipulated to some degree. If you've been watching any of the major news networks, MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, you just name it, any of them, you have been given a particular narrative that they allow to come through. The president of this country wants a particular narrative to be given out to us, does not want a revelation of all of the truth, does not live in the truth at all. There is a particular, that's why we hear stuff like fake news and alternative facts, because the truth is that they are telling their own story, and we're seeing what that story is playing out to be. Now, they are also a part of this whole process of the emerging story that's occurring now, a part of the process of us awakening and coming into a place of oneness and wholeness and interbeing. And so we welcome it all, and we're connected to them all. You are as connected to Donald Trump as you are to Barack Obama. You are as connected to Jesus Christ as you are to your Republican neighbor or your Democrat neighbor. You are connected to them because you are of the same source. So, loved ones, I want to invite us today into a story, not a fairy tale, not a history lesson, but the living story that we are waking up to inside of us right now. It's a story that I believe is emerging on the lips of scientists, on the lips of mystics, poets, and it's in your own heart. It's the emerging story. It's the story of oneness, the story of wholeness and interbeing. For centuries, we have been told different stories, and a different story altogether than what I'm going to tell today and to what your heart is telling. We've been told the story of separation, the myth that I am here and you're over there, that humans are somehow separate from nature, that your body is separate from your spirit, that one race, one religion, one nation is somehow above another. And that story has shaped our economics. It has shaped our religions. It has even shaped our own self-worth, and possibly in ways that you don't even realize. It has taught us to compete and compare instead of collaborate. It's taught us to fear instead of feel, to own and to control instead of belong. But loved ones, that story is collapsing right before our eyes. And it's perfect because there's a new story, or maybe we could say it's the oldest story, the oldest one that's actually rising in us. And I would venture to say it's an old story with a new delivery, the story that says there's only one life expressing itself as you, as me, as everything, as I said, amongst the trees. There's an interconnectedness that we all have. And so let's look at those three things today: oneness, wholeness, and interbeing. Oneness. Let's begin with oneness, because oneness is not sameness. A lot of times when people hear oneness, or even they hear the word unity, they think it means sameness. When you want harmony in this life, it's not about sounding the same, it's about sounding together. It's not everybody wears khakis and agrees to the same pizza toppings. That's not what we're talking about when we're saying oneness. Oneness doesn't erase our diversity. In fact, it reveals our unity within the diversity. The mystics and the sages throughout time have always said this to us. It's always been the message. And I'm reminded, I believe it was Meister Eckhart. It could have been Paul Tillich, but I think it was Meister Eckhart. And it was Meister Eckhart who said, "The eye with which I see God is the same eye with which God sees me." In other words, there's no separation between the seer and the seen. We are connected to God. Pat yourself on the chest and say, "I'm connected to God because I am God's stuff." And now science is echoing what the mystics have been singing throughout time. It's been the song of the mystics and the sages. It's the song of Jesus. It was the song of Siddhartha. It was the song of Lao Tzu. It's the song of all of the sages. So science is telling us the same story. Quantum physics shows us that particles separated by galaxies remain mysteriously connected somehow. What happens here reverberates there. It's as if the universe itself is whispering, I've been one this whole time. You're just beginning to notice it. The universe itself is saying, I have been one this whole time. You're just starting to notice it, and your body knows it too. When someone you love walks into the room, your chest expands. When you see someone in pain, even a stranger, something in you feels it. That's not weakness, that's oneness. That's the signal. It's alive, it's electric, even in your nervous system. The scriptures tell us in the Christian Bible, in God we live, move, and have our being. It's not a weekend rental. It's not occasional on Sundays. It's not visiting occasionally. We live in this oneness. It's like fish swimming in an ocean of divinity. I like how Michael Beckwith says it, we are all swimming in the ocean of devotion together. If you ever doubt it, separation that is, stub your toe in the dark in the middle of the night. You'll realize real quick that every part of you is connected because you'll feel it. Oneness is not a theory. It's not a religious belief. It's the reality to remember. And we only need to remember it because somehow it got dismembered. And the question isn't, is it true? The question is, are we choosing to live as if it's true? So the question of our oneness and our interconnectedness with everything, the question isn't whether it's true. The question for you to ask within your own self today is, am I living it? Am I being intentional when it comes to living oneness? And then the next thing I wanted to look at was wholeness, because today I'm talking about waking up to oneness, wholeness, and interbeing. Let's move to wholeness. Wholeness says nothing gets left out. Now, when we think about wholeness, I'm not just talking about not being sick. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about nothing in you gets left out. Not your shadow, not your scars, not the junk in the trunk, not the messy parts that you try to hide. The old story told us that some parts of life are sacred and the other parts are profane. That some people belong and others don't. But wholeness heals that fragmentation. Wholeness heals us from that lie. Carl Jung even said, I would rather be whole than good, because good is somebody else's checklist. Whole means nothing in you is wasted. Pat yourself on the chest and say, nothing in me is wasted. Think of it this way if you need to. Think of the human body. If one organ is neglected, the whole body suffers. You know, systems theory teaches that the health of the whole depends on honoring every part. That's systems theory. Spiritually speaking, the same is true. When we learn to embrace the parts of ourselves we once rejected or were taught to reject, we become living invitations for others to do the same. You start to become an instrument of integration in a fragmented world. The world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more people who are whole, those who can hold light and shadow, joy and grief, clarity and confusion, all as sacred movement in the one dance of life. Wholeness means God isn't just found in a cathedral or a church. God is in your kitchen junk drawer, in your messy family reunions, in your function and your dysfunction, and yes, even in our traffic here in Florida. Nothing is outside of the circle of divine wholeness. So wholeness is not, again, everything being quote unquote perfect. It's everything belonging. That's true wholeness. And then we move from wholeness to interbeing. And I may spend a little more time here because I love this terminology. We arrive at what I believe is a beautiful thread in this tapestry, honestly. It's interbeing. Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Vietnamese Zen teacher, he coined this term. He said to be is to enter be. In other words, you cannot just be by yourself alone. You have to enter be with every other thing. In other words, it's not simply that we are connected. Please hear this. It's not just that we're connected. It's that we are connection happening. Interbeing brings on the revelation. It reveals to us the living fabric of reality itself. That everything arises together, co-creating and co-depending on that one vast, endless, wide open field of life itself. Jesus said it this way: I am the vine, you are the branches. Buddhism says this is because that is. It's a different language, but it's the same truth. You can't pull one thread in that web of life without the whole thing trembling. That's not poetry. That's actually ecology. When a bee disappears, a flower doesn't bloom. When a tree falls, the air changes. When one heart breaks, humanity feels the echo, even if you're not completely aware of it. Even in modern science, we hear the same melody. Quantum physics tells us that observation and relationship are not accidents. They are existence. Observation and relationship are not accidents. They are existence. Neuroscience shows us mirror neurons. That's what they're called in neuroscience. In other words, it's brain cells that are designed to feel what others feel. So that means empathy isn't moral, it's molecular. Now, I know that's a big word maybe, but I think you understand what I mean. It's not just a moral thing. Our empathy, and there's a war on empathy right now. There's a war on softness and mercy and unity and love and compassion. You talk about love. I mean, Joe here in our own community, who is, I love you. Joe goes out every single weekend into St. Pete, downtown St. Pete, and writes beautiful messages in chalk on the road and shares with people, I love you. He has people literally cuss him out for saying I love you because there's an attack. There is a war on empathy right now. But empathy isn't morality. It is molecular. Interbeing reminds us that compassion, it's not a virtue, it's sanity. For God's sakes, it's sanity. When I harm you, ultimately I harm myself. When I bless you, therefore, I bless myself. When I forgive, the entire field shifts toward a higher level of understanding because of interbeing. You know, even Wi-Fi, I was thinking about this the other day, even Wi-Fi preaches this truth, this gospel, this good news, because it's invisible waves connecting us right now. As I'm talking to you right now, through this screen that is coming to you through Wi-Fi. It is connection, and it's invisible, but it's working. You're hearing me. You're seeing me. This message is coming through because of interbeingness. You can't see it, but here we are. Here we are together downloading divine principle. Together, downloading the divine. So interbeing is not just abstract mysticism from a Zen Buddhist monk. It's the way life itself exists. It's the way life breathes. It's the pulse of love itself. And it calls us to live within a sense of reverence and responsibility and radical tenderness. And if we will hear the call for this connection, we'll hear what our African brothers and sisters said when they said, I am because we are. That's the essence of interbeing. To exist is to participate in everything else. And the key is your awareness, because it's happening whether you're aware of it or not. And to exist is to participate in everything else. My attitudes, my vibrational frequency, how I'm showing up in the world is affecting and quite possibly infecting everything. So the emerging story is this. When we weave together oneness, wholeness, and interbeing, there's a new story that starts to emerge. Or maybe it's an ancient story, as I mentioned earlier. It's an ancient story that never stopped being true, but it's the story that maybe stopped being told. And here it is. It's the story where we are not consumers. We are co-creators. We are not strangers. We are kin. We don't look alike. We don't necessarily like the same foods or the same styles of music. Many of us don't like the same politicians. None of us are getting the same information, or there are algorithms that have built your information for you, customizing your echo chamber. That's a part of the war for our consciousness, or the battle for our consciousness. We are not strangers, though. We are kin. We're not even broken. We're not even broken or fragmented. We're not fragments, but we're living whole within a greater wholeness. And this is the story that humanity is remembering. We are waking up to our human divinity. And that is the fact that we are not just connected, but we are connection occurring in every moment. It's a story that indigenous wisdom has carried for millennia. It's a story the mystics have sung about, the poets have hinted at and written about, and now even science is beginning to confirm. And it's the story your soul already knows. And it's the invitation. And this invitation, it's not just to believe the story. It's not about belief. It's about embodiment. You've heard me use that term a lot lately, and I want to continue to use that term because it's important that we not just believe these principles as some kind of a new thought theology or even a religious practice, but that we embody it. So the invitation is not for you to believe the story, it's to embody it, it's to activate it, it's to live it in our everyday life through compassion, through creativity, through understanding, through forgiveness, through presence. Because the emergent story that we're seeing, it isn't waiting for someone else to write it. You are already writing it. With every choice, every breath, every act of love, you're writing that new story. So don't grow weary in well-doing when you're out here trying to spread love, joy, and peace, and you have people who cuss you out for doing so. Stay in it. People will call you all kinds of names for showing up as love. Continue to show up. Because when you do, you show forth this new emerging story. And it is this story that can heal us. Let me tell you something. I believe the old story of separation is ending. It's falling apart right in front of our eyes. But the emerging story of oneness, of wholeness, of interbeing is rising. And you, my beloved loved ones, my beloved ones, you are living chapters in that story. And my desire is to say, my prayer is, may your life be a sentence of love. May your presence be a paragraph of peace. May your soul be a poem or a song written of wholeness. And together, may we write a story that can bless the whole world. I'm choosing to write that story. I'm asking you to join in. Let's close with this affirmation, if you will. It's a simple, but it's a sacred affirmation. And here it is. We are all in this together, whether we like it or not. We are all in this together, whether we like it or not. And some people may say, well, that's not a great affirmation. I think it's a great affirmation to remind you every single action is going to create a reaction because it's a ripple in the water. So what is it that I'm doing each day? Well, most of us here in this community, the community of One Love, Consciousness Movement, and First Unity Spiritual Campus, most of us agreed, we committed to practicing love, joy, and peace. And when you do that, you start to create that ripple. That's the vibrational frequency that shifts the consciousness, that expands the planet. So here's my affirmation. We are all in this together, whether we like it or not. And yes, that includes your Trump friends. That includes your Democrat friends. That includes your Christian dogmatic friends. That includes your Muslim friends, your Jewish friends, your black friends, your Latino friends, your gay, lesbian, transgender, pansexual, bi, tri, and everybody else. It includes everybody. And that includes your ex-wife, your ex-husband, the family members that you're kind of dreading you're dreading having to spend the holidays with. This includes all people. But when we remind ourselves to wake up, to shake up, and to rise up into this higher truth, radical oneness, when we do that, we invite, and here's what happens, and I'll close with this. Here's what happens. We move past calling people out, and we move toward calling us all up. Because I can call people out for the rest of my life, but I want to call us up. I want to call us all up together just a little higher, because ultimately we are here in oneness, in wholeness, and interbeing. There is one power, one God, active, one presence, one creative force, active in all of the cosmos, all of the world, and all of the universe and the galaxies, and that is God the Good. And that God the Good is in you, as you, creating all of the ripples that you're experiencing in this life. So choose you this day which part of you will serve and service and worship, because worship is worthship. How are you going to show up in this world? I'm choosing to show up as my divine nature and right of love, joy, and peace. I'm asking you to consider joining me. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for your love. Thank you for being committed to this community. Thank you for supporting this community financially, supporting with your time, talent, and your treasure. Now is the time, as much as ever, for this community to really, really, really thrive. We're going into 2026. We're not done with 2025 yet, but we're going into 2026 with a new level of expectation and enthusiasm. And I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. All right, my friends, I'm going to get up out of here now. Go and make it a great week just because you can. I love you. Peace. Loved ones, thank you so much for joining us today for our devotional service. The ways to give are on the screen right now. You can, of course, text to give. You can utilize our app. You can also go to firstunity.org/give. And on that page, you can actually decide to become an auto giver. That's really what it takes to become a sustaining partner to this ministry. If you believe in what we're doing here, I'm asking you to consider supporting the light that currently is and seeding that light for the future. We continue with our ways to give by offering our P.O. Box, our Cash App, and our QR code for you to scan on the screen. So I want to say a special thank you to everyone who has chosen this community to be a place where you want to give your financial seed. Know that when you're planting that seed, it is going into fertile soil, and you activate the law of circulation in your life. God bless you. Now there is peace on earth, and it has begun with me. Now there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Now there is peace on earth. Yes, this is the moment now. With every step I take, yes, this is my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Now there is peace on earth, and it has begun with me. And our prayer of protection together, the light of God surrounds us. I am the light. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love. The power of God protects us. I am the power. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. I love you, family. Make it a great Sunday.